Hello, everyone who is listening to us. This is one of Fearless Female Founders interview with beautiful Andrea Chase. I can't express how happy I am to have Andrea here today with us because she is one of the sweetest and supportive people out there, and it's really a pleasure to be around her. And for me, it's a pleasure to finally see her and listen to her story, because Andrea was around for a while in Fearless Female Founders and with me as well. But I've never heard the full story of ProCabbie. So Andrea Chase is the founder of ProCabbie application, which is an application for taxi, reinventing the whole industry of how you order taxis and what kind of taxis you order. But I will not go deep into that because this is your specialty. You will tell us about that. And so what we are going to talk about today is actually the path that Andrea had to go through to build not only the application, because application is the result, right? But also the team, how the path was it difficult? Was it easy? I'm sure it wasn't easy because no business is easy. And we are confused very much so by social media when there are these ads about building your business in 7 days. I'm still amazed, like, how someone can promote something like this. So yeah, the floor is yours, Andrea. I'm really curious to hear your story, and I'm sure our listeners are also curious to hear your story. And if you have any questions, dear ladies, please ping them.
Thank you so much, Anna. I'm so happy to be here too, and finally getting this wonderful opportunity. Like you said, I've been in the Fearless Female Founders Group for a while, and I just love the leadership that you bring to females in business, and all the great energy from the group and the support. So this is a true honor for me today. And please feel free to interject at any point along the way. If you have any questions or you want me to steer in another direction. So like Anna said, I'm Andrea Chase. I've lived in Ottawa, Canada for 12 years now, and I'm Canadian originally. I'm from a small town, and so I've always really loved the small towns, but I really love traveling as well. And so I've always been, since I was young, a big dreamer kind of person. So I've had different career aspirations over the years. I wanted to be a dancer and an actor, a dentist, a psychologist, and a lot of things in between. So all of that to say, I ended up obtaining an undergraduate degree in psychology, and that was a wonderful experience for me. But upon graduation, I had this burning desire to see the world and to travel. I wasn't ready to do, another 6 years of school. So I got my teaching English as a foreign language certification, and I went over to South Korea and I started my teaching English journey. That was a wonderful opportunity, living abroad and learning to teach. And that actually jump-started 5 years of my career in teaching English, which I really enjoy. And I still really enjoy that. But I had a burning desire when I finished university, something pulling me towards marketing and business. It was nagging at me. So, after a few years of exploring and having some fun, I went back to school and I got a business management diploma. And it was really a nice overview and set me up essentially to become an entrepreneur. But as I'm sure you can appreciate, nothing can fully prepare you, no matter how much schooling you have and how much support you have, which is super important. Sometimes you just kind of have to go into the trenches. So you might be wondering.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
So did you take like a short program? Was it 1 year or was it something longer?
The business management diploma, it was 2 years. It was a full 2 years. And it covered everything from marketing, sales, statistics, accounting, business plan writing. At the end, the pinnacle of the program was you write a full business plan. And at that time, it was 125 pages. So nowadays we know business plans don't have to be 100 pages to be pertinent or to help you get funding. But back then that was sort of more common. Anyway, entrepreneurship, it makes sense I ended up in it, but it wasn't what I always knew I wanted to do. I wasn't that person when I was 5 years old saying, I'm going to be a business owner. I didn't know, but I think a lot of things about my personality, including the fact that I don't necessarily really fit into a corporate box. I don't love strict hierarchy in the workplace. I really thrive in more collaborative community approach in the workplace.
Have you ever worked in the corporate world though?
Not really. Like I've worked for mom and pop shops and I've worked for some bigger entities, but I haven't really had that corporate job, so to speak. And, just point blank, I applied for a lot of those jobs. Like when I finished business management diploma, unfortunately, we were coming out of a recession then. So the economy was very, very poor and there wasn't much jobs out there. So I was applying for marketing jobs and business and management, administration, jobs. I really had a very, very difficult time doing that. But I think at the end of the day, things came around the way that they were supposed to. So, in those interns, I was working 3 jobs. I went back to teaching English. I was working at a gym. I was working for a catering company with my background in hospitality. And then I ended up getting an administrator job for a seniors rehabilitative exercise program. I've had a lot of jobs over the years, right? And it was a really great experience. I love the seniors, but it was a government funded program and the funding got cut. Mm-hmm. So I'm back again, to square one. I thought I was back to square one, but it was after that, I guess, hiccup, you could say, that I thought, now this is the time. If I'm going to do it, let's just throw it out there. So my partner is an IT professional. And so we decided, for kind of lack of a better term, to marry our skill sets, his in IT and then mine in business and marketing. And we actually then formed our consulting professional services company, Bates Global Incorporated. And Bates is business analysis and IT solutions, very heavily IT focused. So most of the contracts we do are with the federal government here in Canada. But I was doing business development consulting with this agency, our agency, and Bates is still in operation to this day. It's still in functionality, but I was working more with small startups, like entrepreneurs. I love those people that have that big vision, they have the big dreams, big glowing eyes that they want to create something. And I can relate to that, wanting to create something from nothing. So I was doing consulting.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
So when you were starting that business with your hubby, which is wonderful, by the way, so did he have experience in business building before that? No. So you were both like out of kind of school and starting everything.
Yeah.
How was it? I mean, you're saying that you're working. You still have that company, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
With what governmental contracts and everything. I mean, how do you get there? I mean, out of nowhere, jumping there and finding this kind of clients, because those contracts are quite big usually and quite stable as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really valid question. So it's not a super easy road to get government contracts. But one thing to point out is we live in Ottawa, so we're in the capital city of Canada. This is the government town. So about 30% of government workers live in the city, I think is the statistic, but there's a lot of interim consulting agencies that are bigger, that acquire contracts, and you can subcontract through there. So that's typically how we got the ball rolling, was Bates would subcontract with big entities who are securing the big contracts, because you're welcome as a small entity to apply to the Canadian government for contracts, but I'm not going to mince words and say it's easy. It's very difficult to get in the door. So the best solution we found was to partner with other consulting agencies that have more experience, that get the contracts, and then we work together to secure that. That's how we've done that.
That was a good move. Yeah.
I think so. And it's only grown over time. And of course, the IT sector is ginormous. And so the IT services we offer are pretty diverse as well, like systems engineering, infrastructure design, and a lot of things in between. So that's why we had the skill set with consulting company Bates to build ProCabbie. That's essentially how we were able to do it. So Bates led our team of developers when ProCabbie was born. And ProCabbie, to be honest, was an unexpected thing that happened. I never I don't come from the taxi industry, obviously. I never imagined doing this, to be honest with you, but I've become so passionate about this. As you probably know, Anna, I'm very, very passionate about this topic and wanting to help the drivers. But it was kind of in true entrepreneurial fashion where the idea was born. So it was from a personal situation. We have a close family member who's a taxi driver. So he's an immigrant to Canada. Story is very similar to a lot of drivers. When he immigrated to Canada over 30 years ago, he didn't have the credentials in his field and financial sector to work in Canada. He was told he'd have to go back to school. Well, with 4 young children at home, he couldn't afford to do that. So he was same kind of thing, looking for different jobs. He decided to go on taxi like a lot of immigrants do, because once upon a time, it was a very, very good opportunity. If you bought your taxi plate at the end of your career, you sell it off for retirement and you'd have like a nice nest egg to retire on. Or in some cases, they give it to a family member, a nephew or son or somebody in the family. Because the industry obviously has shifted in taxi so much with the implementation, obviously, of ride sharing, but also with taxi industry on the whole's lack of innovation for many years, not just with ride sharing, they were falling behind. So nowadays, the value of the taxi plate is basically worthless, meaning a lot of these drivers, and it's not just a problem in Canada, it's a problem worldwide now. A lot of these drivers can't afford to retire because they have no retirement plan. But on the other hand, they can't really afford to work. And what I mean by that is there's very, very high monthly fees that professional taxi drivers incur with commercial insurance, dispatching fees to their dispatching company, fuel, maintenance of the car, and they have to undergo, in a lot of places, a lot more inspections than ride sharing do. So the vehicles have to be in a lot better shape. So all that to say, they're stuck with this problem. So I've always been a purveyor of taxis and kind of being entrepreneurial myself. I wanted something that I could use, right? This is how I think a lot of businesses are born. I wanted something that I could use where I could order a taxi at the click of a button, like ride sharing, pay through the app, but at the same time, support the professional taxi industry. So that's basically, in a nutshell, how ProCabbie was born. It was inspired by a personal situation, and it really was and it is intended to be a supplementary income source. It's not a standalone solution. You have to use this, in conjunction with maybe your company has an app, which is another conversation, your street hails, your private clients, your dispatch. all of these tools we consider essential in the toolkit, and ProCabbie, the idea, is another very valuable tool in today's digital marketplace in your toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
So that was essentially the strong desire behind ProCabbie. But it wasn't a happy-go-lucky, easy development process. It was a very, very long, grueling process. It took about 2 years, to be really transparent with you, because the first team of developers that we had were not producing at all, and we had to fire them.
Oh my God, this is such a familiar story. And I'm glad you're talking now about that. Because so when we were announcing your interview, it was about also like how do you build an app, and this is such an important and valid question for many businesses, the startups, let's say, because a lot of women I work with, they tell me like, look, I can't find people who would actually help me instead of just sucking energy out of me.
Yeah. No, 100% relatable. Yeah.
And working myself with freelancers, and I'm subcontracting people as well sometimes, like, because I work for the clients and sometimes I don't have enough of hands, so I need to subcontract people. And my God, I was like, people think that you have like tons of time and they kind of like ask you questions because they probably believe that, okay, if I ask more questions, I let the person know that I'm kind of genuinely interested in finding the right solution. But oh my God, like, I don't have time. Just do it.
100%. That's part of the windy road, right? Is that you try something, and it was a really hard decision. We probably held on to the first developers way too long. We were hoping, they were promising, and we were giving them chances. When you say like 3 strikes and you're out, well, it was like 10 strikes and you're out kind of thing. And then it just, no, we can't do this. And
but in your opinion, tell me, do you think there was something wrong that you did from your side, or those people were not selected correctly, or they were just not the right people? What do you think went wrong?
It's a good question. So, I mean, we always have to take onus for our role in everything. I will be very transparent in that we interviewed like 20 companies or developing teams. So I think we did our due diligence, but at the same time, obviously we had to play a role in that. I don't think, though, if to really answer your question, that they were the right people. They were over promising and under delivering constantly. Oh, no problem. We can do this. And then, we'd go in and our IT side would go, this is not done properly at all. And so it was a big job. Like, I think a lot of people have this notion too, not just with a taxi app or something like that, but other apps, that it's really easy to build. You can build a platform. There's a lot of tools out there, I'm sure, that you can build a platform with if you're not technical, but you really need somebody technical to be able to know the ins and outs and to be able to have it secure. So you can have a platform that's built, it might function, it might not be secure, right? So for us, IT security and privacy, people's data privacy is super, super important to us. So for us, we can't just take the status quo. Like, that is our reputation. That also is Bates' reputation on the line as well. So yeah, I think I've heard many horror stories. It's not just us. I've heard a lot of IT companies go through something similar when building a new platform that, unfortunately, sometimes it's just not the right fit, and you have to make that decision, and you do lose money and you do lose time. But if you are really passionate and serious about what you're trying to build, you can persevere, but it's not easy. Yeah. It's a tough one. for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. How were you organizing the process? Like, how many people were you working with?
So we had a team of about 20 developers.
Oh my God, that's a lot. Yeah.
Um, because there's a lot of moving parts, and we wanted something that wasn't just basic. Like I could talk forever, but we don't have forever about the features with ProCabbie. So there was a lot of things that were really important to us to integrate into the platform that are unique features to ProCabbie. For example, our groups. We have corporate, government, and family groups built right into the app. In essence, a ProCabbie passenger can create a free group with their ProCabbie account. They just go in, say they want to become an admin, select what kind of group they have, add members, upload one central credit card. That's just one example. We also have a private rating system, and then all the IT security behind it. So there was some really special things that we wanted there to be integrated.
Oh, great. Well, to manage 20 people is definitely not an easy task. So how were you organizing it?
So to be honest with you, that wasn't my role. The development process, I was a little extended from that because I'm not really technical. So even though now I'm a woman in tech, technically,
Yeah.
I don't come from this world and I'm not super technical. I've learned a lot, but that's not me. So it actually was my partner. He was the one leading a team of developers. And so I would be more conversation for him, but there's a lot of project plans that were put in place, like very detailed diagrams and things like that of the functionality. And this is his specialty for, how he functions in his work. So he used that same skill set with them. So it was a lot of back and forth and stuff like that. But essentially, we broke it down into different phases. So phase one is going to be this is the marker. And so we had milestones we were trying to meet. And of course, part of the big reason with the first company being let go was these milestones were never being met. So deliverables were never being met. And we're going to promise and all this stuff, but it never was being done. So we had laid things out into different phases, and that's how we broke it down. But unfortunately, that wasn't followed. In the end, though, we did get it built, which is exciting. And we actually have our own micro data center outside of Ottawa as well, where we house the servers. So I know I say IT security a lot, but we don't collect people's data. Everything's encrypted. And the other thing is we have a very custom built infrastructure that we've built ourselves on the server side of ProCabbie.
And so can I ask you, since you had this bad experience with the first agency, what have you learned and what you have changed when you were choosing another one?
Yeah, so I think that a great way to approach it was we were pretty transparent about what had happened. We were very upfront in the sense that, we appreciate what you're saying, but this is the experience we've had. And we were very detailed as well about what specific functionalities in the app we needed done. So the best way, I think, like just from a very bird's eye overview, would be to have a lot of demonstrations done. So know exactly what you want built, and then be able to have people or developers that you're interviewing show you how they can produce this deliverable, or show you a demo, or show you something they've done for somebody else that's the same, right? Because people can make things look really wonderful and shiny, but like proof is in the pudding, right? And so I think another thing is to sort of have a trial run, right? Like set it, like, if you're in a new job, a lot more about, working in the corporate world, I'm sure, than myself. But, we usually have that 3-month window, right? Where you're under review and it's a trial run. So I would say using that kind of logic when you're trying to get something like that built is also a good school of practice, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say.
Yeah, that's actually now because I'm building the closest brand. And by the way,
Yeah, that's so
I think it will
exciting.
be, yeah, it's fun. And I think this will be the last interview in this series because I am going to take a break for fearless female founders, or maybe find a partner, because I just don't have time, to deal with everything. But I'm dealing with loads of things like this now. Hiring people,
Yeah.
ensuring that they will do a good job, and then yeah, testing people and asking them to share their works. And even that sometimes doesn't work, because sometimes they show you their work and then they deliver completely different thing. And it was like, wow, but you have showed me your work. I mean, this is what I have expected. So
Right.
yeah, so I mean, the reason why I'm telling that is just, listeners, whoever is listening to us, please don't be discouraged by that. It's really a windy path indeed. Until you find the right person, you can actually try, I don't know, like tens of people. And this is my experience. I couldn't find, for example, a virtual assistant for
Oh,
more than a year, I think, until I finally found actually two people. And now it's much easier, so it
good.
takes time to find the right person. Unfortunately, yeah, I mean, you have platforms like Upwork and Freelance. There are so many people out there ready to work for you, but not everyone is the right person for you, and you are maybe not the right person for other people as
That's
well.
right.
Because what also matters is a character, how you like working. Like some people like talking, for example, uh, when they solve a problem. I don't like talking. For me, it's like, okay, just do it. If there will be a mistake, we will correct it, but let's stop talking, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you have your own approach, what works for you, and you need. I found that a lot, to be honest with you, with consulting. And that's why I always gave one free consultation. And I always told the individual, we need to see if we're a good fit. Number
Yeah.
one, if I can actually help you, but also, do you want to work with me? Do we jive? Because sometimes it doesn't mean I can't deliver or they can't use me, but it's something's not a right fit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why it's very important to take time, to understand who you are, how you like to work, what are your preferred ways of working, and then
for
looking at
sure.
other people and how they work and actually outlining that. I mean, I know people will sometimes ignore that, but at least you tried.
I agree. Yeah, no, it's a windy path for sure. And sometimes it's trial and error.
Yeah.
I think that perseverance is, something I wanted to mention. And I think that for ProCabbie, but not just for ProCabbie, for any startups out there or solopreneurs too, the perseverance key is key, right? For the longevity. So, and sometimes things don't work out, even when you do persevere, and it's okay. In the tech space, there's some theories I've heard, some very seasoned investors and people who've built and scaled and sold off companies. Some people say it's the third tech company that'll be the ticket. Like you have to fail 2 times or 3 times. And then I've also heard one of the dragons from Dragon's Den Canada, who is Michelle Romano, is a very successful Canadian entrepreneur and now has her own investment firm. She kind of estimates it's more like 5 failures before. And that's really hard to hear when you're really married to your project. And I can relate to this 100,000%. You're very attached to your project, but
And the money you've invested out also to that is like, how can I let it go?
the
Sometimes,
time, the blood, the sweat, the tears, and all the efforts and the money, like you said, but sometimes I don't know, that part I haven't figured that out yet. I'm still kind of in that now, right? Where it's how do you know, Do you keep going or do you maybe pivot, right?
No, and that is extremely important what you are saying now, because one of the misconceptions as well of people who are shifting from corporate to entrepreneurship is like they want to find that one and only thing that is for them. And then they believe, okay, I found the thing and now, I will succeed and everything will go perfectly.
Right.
And they are afraid of doing the step forward because they don't know if this is the ideal thing or not, because they believe that that ideal thing is out there, but it's actually not.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think sometimes nothing's perfect, right? Like nothing is going to be perfect. Even if you have a super successful business that you've built from the ground up, there's always going to be hurdles. There's always going to be hiccups. And I think the perseverance, but also the mental stamina piece behind entrepreneurship plays a really integral role as well. Knowing that nothing's going to be perfect. And you kind of sometimes you have to figure it out as you go. You have to change your project plans. You have to,
yeah. Sometimes the whole concept, sometimes the whole business.
That's right.
And also, like, for example, COVID, you never know that something like COVID might happen and like the whole scene can change and maybe your business will not be even needed anymore. I mean, they're just speaking in general. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is just don't be afraid of taking the step and trying something. Start from something.
Yes.
Because, I mean, if it doesn't fly, it's okay. I mean, that was a learning lesson, and you will learn a lot of things on the way, which will help you 100%. To arrive at the end to where you should be. Because we're always guided, right?
100%. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And one thing that I usually say in these talks is, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that's going to happen is that you're going to learn a lot. That's the worst thing that's going to happen. You might not succeed, but at least you tried. And another piece of that is, I think it's really important not to be left wondering what if. If there's something inside of you and you really think, like you said, sometimes you just got to tear off the Band-Aid and you just got to do it. You just got to try, and you'll quickly see how is the market responding to you? How are your customers or future customers responding, right? And sometimes they can help guide you too in that path, I think.
And that's an interesting thing, because the more businesses you try, the more you see how people respond to different kind of products and services. Because when you're trying only one business and like you don't see, for example, a response, and you think maybe another business is the same, or maybe I'm doing something incorrectly. But when you're trying other things as well, you suddenly see that depending on the product and the service as well, people can respond differently as well. There are different 100%. Needs, and the people can respond differently towards you as well in different kind of businesses as well. This is kind of very interesting for me, because I'm trying also different things, and I can see different kind of responses, and it's super interesting. But I wanted to ask you two more questions.
Sure.
I'll start from the one for seasoned, let's say, entrepreneurs who kind of got consumed by their business, and they kind of even forget to rest, and they start having anxiety, fears, and things like that. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, no, I love that question. So I think that the mental stamina piece and entrepreneurship is super important, but I don't think it's talked about enough. I think we live in this hustle culture, which is okay, but that's not something that's going to survive long term, right? Like, people get burnt out. We're human beings, So I think that we always hear about this personal care routine. Maybe people, I'm sorry, or if they're getting sick of hearing about that, but really can't stress how important that actually is. So I think it depends on who you are. You have to find what that is for you. You know, for myself personally, it's morning workouts, like immediately when I wake up, you know, setting the day, practicing mindfulness or some kind of meditation. Also doing a lot of visualization, I think, is really important. So not just broad, but get super detailed about that. You know, whether you write it down or it's in your head, you know, really get detailed about what you want success to look like for you, you know, and then kind of work backwards, right? So if you have that big vision, you have to work backwards, I think, to break it down into the smaller goals. How are you going to get there, right? And I think one thing that's super small is to take your why. So what is your why? We always hear about that, but take your true why, take some time to think about and put it in clear sight of your desk or on your mirror in your bathroom or something like that, where you're going to see it on a constant basis. For me personally, it might sound silly, but it can really help when you're feeling those dips, right? So I also think that mentorship, networking can be really advantageous, because I'm sure you can relate. Entrepreneurship can be wonderful, but it can be lonely for some people, especially if you're a solopreneur or something like that. So, you know, honestly, groups like Fearless Female Founders, you know, join these kinds of professional groups on Facebook, over LinkedIn and stuff like that, because I think for me personally, and I think a lot of people can agree, when you're having a tough time pulling yourself out of maybe a lull, it's these fellow entrepreneurs and cheerleaders that can help rise you up, right? And I guess
you know, just to add really briefly on that, I can feel when we were meeting offline, you know, just before COVID, it made such a huge difference. Because all of a sudden, you know, we could exchange all our obstacles and bottlenecks, and all of a sudden you would see that you are not alone, you know, because you always feel, I mean, when you look on social media and everyone is doing so well, you know,
the highlight reel, right? The
highlights,
highlights,
and it's only when you meet people face to face, they start to share what's really happening to them.
yeah.
And there are a lot of very painful stories out there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you think, oh my God, like my problem is not even a problem. Or I have a similar problem and I'm not alone, and it's okay. You know?
Yeah.
It's suddenly you feel like, okay, I'm not the only one suffering, and all the world on Instagram is so beautiful. You know,
Right. 100%. I mean, obviously, entrepreneurs have felt the hard hit of that, you know, through COVID. Still can't have like we're in lockdown here right now, like for the third time, you know. So I'm missing that too, right? Those person, a lot of us worked from home before COVID, but our outlet was these events where we met in person with people, or lunches or networking events or community get-togethers, and we don't have any of that. So, I mean, technology is great, but like you said, there's nothing quite like that in-person connection.
I'm really, I really hope to get back to it soon. And I tried to organize actually online gathering, but didn't have much of success. I suppose people are overwhelmed also with the online world.
Yes.
But tell me, like, how do you distance yourself from your business? Because I know it's difficult to disconnect, because it's your baby, and you know you always want to take care of it. You know, then
Yeah, so I think it depends. I think it depends who you are, right? I think personality can play a role too in that, right? There's some people that can never shut off, right? And that's not good for your mental or physical well-being. So how can a person do that? But I think personally, I find it very helpful to schedule my days. So I've always been kind of like a list making type of person. You can use Google Calendar in your phone or Google Keep, or it can be written out too. But I find it's really helpful to look at, okay, what am I doing this month? But break it down into weeks. And I find one of the most basic things that has worked for me is I'm going to make a task list the night before for the next day. So the next day, I'm not wondering, oh, I have a million thousand things to do. I know today I'm going to focus on A, B, C, D, right? And so I think trying to just stay present it's difficult, but I think that's really important is you have to kind of prioritize what is most important right now, right? Because some tasks, they don't get done in a day, so you might have on that list, you might have tasks that are fairly easy to do, maybe social posting or content creation or something simple, for example. And then you might have something else like sales calls that is an ongoing task. So I think having a mix of both in the list is really advantageous. So things that you can check off, that satisfying feeling of saying, I accomplished this. And another thing is that I didn't really mention to your previous question was about celebrating the win. So one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given, very seasoned entrepreneurs, is no matter the size of the wins, celebrate them. And celebrations, yeah. And they can come in any form, right? Like, is it a spa day? Maybe it is, but maybe it's something like, no, I'm just going to take a night off. I'm going to spend some time with my partner. I'm going to watch a movie or have a glass of wine or whatever it is, right? But I think having sort of like, I call it like a love note to yourself, where whether it's in your phone or a notebook journal, you track the wins, right? No matter how big or small they are. So, those days that are going to come where you're feeling unmotivated or you're feeling frustrated or you don't know what to do, when you look at those things, I think it can be really helpful to put the fuel back in your fire. And also, when you've been given really positive feedback or comments from clients or partners, include these.
Put them on the wall.
Yeah, seriously though, or have an email folder or something for that. And when you really need a pick me up, take a look at those, because I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we wear all the hats, but we're forgetting what we're doing half the time because we're just doing it, right? So sometimes when you slow down and you reflect, I think it can be really, really helpful to keep the perseverance and the stamina going there.
Yeah, these are good advices. Actually, I also, I don't do it every day, but when I feel overwhelmed, I would write down everything that I need to do the next day or next week. And I feel like I took like the weight of my shoulders, it's like because my mind is constantly thinking I need to do this and this and that. Yeah, great. Good advice. I can see some people are watching us. So, ladies, if you have any questions
Thank you.
to Andrea, yeah, please ask us. And while you're asking the questions, if you're not asking the questions, I will ask my question as well.
Please do.
You don't live in Belgium, but you probably heard that it's a tough country in terms of bureaucracy, taxation, and basically having a business. Yesterday I was at the hairdresser, and we were discussing taxes and how scary it is to be an entrepreneur in Belgium, because you never know. You don't have the confidence. Did you do things right? If tomorrow there will be a check, they will come upon you, they will find something, they will penalize you.
Okay.
How is it in Canada? When you were starting your business, how did you approach that? Because
Yeah.
Well, in Belgium, you need to take time to understand how everything works until you jump into it. How is it in Canada?
So I would say in Canada, we are very, very fortunate to have a federal government that is very encouraging of people starting small businesses. So we know that our economy is largely made up of small and medium enterprises, and medium enterprises being 500 people or less. But we have tons of now solopreneurs and things like that. The other thing I would say is it's not overly difficult to do. Of course, it's difficult to grow a business, but in essence, in Canada, you visit Corporations Canada website and you can be federally incorporated in Canada for $200 Canadian. So that's pretty great. The other thing I would say is I was recently in a federal government summit, and I really hear a lot of key players telling us that they want to invest more in women and entrepreneurship, which makes me so happy to hear. I think it's so important because we know that there's so many women that are choosing this as a career path, and we still, though, have a big issue with how funding is allocated here. We know that women receive a lot less funding for their businesses than men do at this time. So in Canada, the federal government is creating a lot of women entrepreneurship initiatives and has made a commitment. I can't remember the dollar amount off the top of my head, but they're making some really strong commitments to invest more in supporting women entrepreneurs and helping them grow their businesses, which is fantastic. And aside from government, we have, some really great entities like incubators and things. Like some of them can be in person, some can be online. One that I love, I'll give them a shout out, is the Female Founders Fund. They're Canadian based. And for now, I think you have to be in Canada, but I know they want to grow that. And what they do is you pay a small membership fee for the year. They have workshops all year long, support systems. And then right now we're getting into funding season, and everybody's membership fee goes into a pool, and that's how they allocate the funding, which is really awesome. So that's actually coming up. Deadline is next week to do your pitch to apply to that. So I think that there's a lot of great support actually in Canada, but we have a ways to go on the women entrepreneurship.
Oh yeah, I think the whole world is not there just yet, and well, particularly we in Belgium. I was recently a judge in KBC Startup.
Oh, cool.
Initiative, yeah, and out of all the pitching people that I've seen that day, there was only one woman.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And I was wondering, like, yeah, from one side, it's like, okay, the government is not supporting enough women, but on the other hand, it's like we are not stepping up for ourselves. But then the question arises why we are not stepping up for ourselves, because we are still in that mentality that we need to take care of the family, and there is a lot of workload, like I mean, home hurts still on women, and I really hope it will change soon, and they will stop making ads about women washing clothes.
Men can do it too, right? Men can do it too. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I think things are moving in the right direction. Like, I'm a pretty positive person. I think you know that. But yeah, we have to be realistic that there is a ways to go. But I feel very grateful that there is initiative starting in Canada anyway, and the US too. Like in Silicon Valley, there's still mostly men, but there are some women champions who are starting to take the stage, which is really exciting. So I think that we have to take the plunge, right? Like you have to just, yeah.
We need to step up.
That's right.
Okay. I don't know if you've noticed, but the hour flied really fast.
Went so fast.
Yeah, I always say time flies when you have fun.
That's true.
But so before we finish, yeah, there is a comment from Alanit. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. Great questions and super valuable info. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, girls. Thank you for watching, and I really hope.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining.
I only have, since we still have a little bit of time, I have one more question. How do you? I need to formulate it correctly. What are your time savers? So how do you create more time for yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question.
While are you thinking? I will give you an example. There is one of fearless female founders who said that she buys the same socks.
Oh,
for the whole family. So there wouldn't be, this sorting and things. So you basically just wash them and you put all of them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So those kind of small
things, I see what you're saying. That's a good question. I think it's kind of a health and wellness answer, but I would say meal planning is really helpful. So
I tried it for so many times. It doesn't work for me. How do you do it?
Some people do the batch cooking, this batch cooking where you cook all the veggies. Some people do that when I don't have children at this point. So I don't know, that could be different if I had kids, but yeah, like just having couple, if you eat some kind of protein, like veggie or meat, whatever you eat, some vegetables for the week. Like when you're making your shopping list, think about all the food groups and choose like maybe 3 or 4 from each for the week. I think that can be really helpful. So I know this week I'm going to eat like mushrooms, peppers, and kale and whatever else. Then I'm going to eat, chicken and tofu or whatever it is. For my fats, I'm going to have this kind of cheese or hummus or whatever. And then for my grains, this. I think if you don't mind eating the same thing, sometimes it can be really helpful doing that.
But wait, so do you prepare the meals in the beginning of the week for the whole week, or?
No, personally, no. Like I actually really enjoy cooking, so we like cooking, so we don't typically do that. But one thing you can do, for example, my husband made the big soup yesterday. So if you make something big like that, like soup or chili or something like that, you have this for lunch for a few days. What we do though is if we don't cook everything before, we chop and wash everything before. So if we're busy in the day, we know, okay, in the fridge, we have fresh raw vegetables that are already cleaned, ready to go, that we can eat quickly. And I think, eating well and brain stimulating foods is super important for keeping the stamina going too when you're a business owner, right? Because the hours can be crazy and you don't always have time to cook. So I think thinking about, if you don't mind eating raw foods, it's very good for you too. This can be another way to kind of cut down on time, because cooking can be very time consuming.
I know. And for me, like, it doesn't really work like cooking for a week, because we both don't eat it. I don't know what's wrong with us. It's like
people don't like to eat the same thing, right? That's okay.
So anyone who's listening to us, if you have any tips, please.
If you have any tips, I hope I answered that okay. The last thing I would say is we also use meal kits. So now there's a lot of these. We love these. And we save money. Actually, could not make these meals for the same amount if I buy the ingredients separate. So it all comes in one box, which is really nice. So to be honest, we use that too.
Yeah.
Food. Yeah.
I used HelloFresh, and then something in my account has got broken, and I can't do it anymore, and they don't reply, and they constantly send me the promotion codes, and I was like, come on guys, I can't even buy.
Oh, that's frustrating. I didn't know you guys had HelloFresh over there. Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
I've
It's
tried.
quite popular here. Yeah.
That's a good business model. That's
Yeah.
a very good business. Especially during COVID, they've done very well, I think.
I would say so. Yeah, I can see a lot of boxes left for recycling.
Yeah,
So I think they're doing well.
I think so too.
All right. Yeah, there is one more comment saying great and sending kisses. Thank you so much, girls, for listening to
Thank
us.
you for
That's
tuning in.
Yeah, I will say a huge thanks to Andrea. It was really a pleasure. I knew it would be a pleasure, but I didn't know it would be such a pleasure.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you so much for having me, Anna. I've been looking forward to this, and I'm so grateful we connected. You know, it's so funny how the world of the internet works. I mean, borders are broken down, and look, hopefully one day when it's safe, I can maybe meet you in person, you know. Hopefully.
I hope so.
I hope so
Let's
too.
go sailing somewhere.
Oh, that would be amazing. Can't wait.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I will see you in online space for now.
Good. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, Anna, and for everyone for tuning in, and hope you found some value from today's session.